Sponsored in part by wormsway.com, hydroponics and organics, indoor and outdoor gardening. Garden anywhere, garden anytime. Stores conveniently located in Tampa, Florida, Erlanger, Kentucky, St. Louis, Missouri, Bloomington, Indiana, Sutton, Massachusetts, Nashville, Tennessee, and always at wormsway.com. Welcome to Growing Indoors. I'm Joey Baird.
And I'm Holly Baird.
So it's time to get our grow room, the plants that we started from seed, growing. Now we've got some bush beans here, we've got some zucchini, some cucumbers, there's some more. The tomatoes look a little on the yellowy side, but that's not going to be a problem because we're going to add some nutrients to the soil to get that going. Now if you want to see our previous videos on the materials that we're using from Worms Way, how we got the seeds started, as well as setting up the grow room, all of those links will be in the show notes below so you can catch up to where we're at. So one of the things I want to talk about first off is the containers. These are 5-gallon nursery containers, and we did put some onion starts that we have. We're going to plant some more, but there's some that we had started. One of the things you want to be aware of is you can see some discoloring on top of this coco core here. That's a slight mold because we really oversaturated the coco core. So you want to be aware of, you want to allow the coco core to absorb the water but not flood it. So that's something you want to keep in mind. Also, the difference between the nursery pot and the, what do you call this? What kind of pot is this?
That's the polypropylene grow bag.
The grow bag will dry out.
It's a smart pot.
The smart pot, it's a 5-gallon. The smart pot will dry out more along the edges because the air can get inside it and dry that coco core out. So that's something else you want to be aware of based on, you know, what you're growing. But also the smart pot will actually air prune the plants, and we'll see that as the progression of these plants begin to grow. But before we get started by putting these in the coco core, we've got to prep the coco core. And how do we do that?
We're going to use this, which is called Plant Success Soluble, and it's basically a positive bacteria. It's a fungi that's found naturally, and it enhances root growth. It helps build microbial and positive bacteria, and it helps the roots uptake the nutrients and establishes them very nicely.
That microbial bacteria, that's the life of
the good bacteria.
The good bacteria, that's the life of the soil there.
Right.
So what we're going to do is we're going to, how do we apply this? And this is crucial to indoor growing.
That's correct. For the cocoa, and you don't want to use this in like a hydroponic situation.
Just in the coco core.
Right. So what you do is you take a teaspoon of this, and there should be a scoop in here, and we're going to add it to a gallon of water.
Which we have here. We'll go ahead and put the powder in first. It's a powdery form. It's almost the consistency like graphite, if you're familiar with what graphite is.
And as you can see here, it's this material.
You're going to give it about a level full there.
Okay. Put it in there. And then we're going to add some water. Now, when you're growing indoors with these beneficial bacterias and things like that, you don't want to use tap city water that may have fluoride or chlorine or different things in it. We have well water here, so it is safe for us to use, but otherwise you would have to either purchase clean water or have a filter situation.
And if you're with the chlorine, you can let your water set out for 24 hours to allow that chlorine to evaporate. But also there's other chemicals that can be in the water that you'll have to, at your discretion, whether or not you want to use the water that comes out of your tap. So we're just going to stir that up a little bit. Now what's the application here? We just soak the top of our coco core prior to putting our plants in, right? To allow the coco core to absorb this.
Well, you can make your transplanting hole first.
Okay.
And sprinkle it in there.
Okay.
And then around it.
Okay. So let's go ahead and take one of these, let's go a 5-gallon nursery pot here. And let's go ahead and get the bush beans planted. Now these were just normal bush beans. These are, just normal bush beans. These are done a little bit better. These are a little bit older than those are. But we've got a total of 5 here. And we moved them into this larger container because we've got a very large mass roots in there that obviously the plant will get somewhat shocked by transplanting it in there, but that's normal with any type of transplant, big or small. So with 5 plants here, we're going to make 5 holes, and then we'll sprinkle our microbial bacteria solution into that.
Right.
And with the coco, I'm just going to Add that microbial bacteria water solution. Obviously, we're going to have some that's... Alright.
Okay. They're pretty well packed in there.
Alright. Now, in a case like this, where the beans have tight, wrapped around, kind of got root bound, well, see, now there's one there trying to grow, which we're going to pull that one because that one's not going to grow very good. With the wet soil, let's go over here and I'll show you. I don't want to put a whole lot of soil in where our coco core is. So, being wet, you can, loosen the soil up around the seeds here and very gently separate them. You're going to hear some tearing, and that's just the way it goes. Obviously, if it was dry soil, they would fall apart better, but then you risk the plant losing getting hurt because it's dehydrated. All right, let's see where we're at. There we go.
Okay.
You can see there's a good amount of roots there. So we'll put that guy in the center here. And again, this is just like transplanting anything outdoors. Same level height that it was in the container is the same level that it is in the pot. With this being roots like that, I'm just going to continue to shake the dirt off of it because I don't want a whole lot of dirt in with the coco core because that would kind of invite pests and potential problems. So if it gets on the carpet a little bit, we'll get that cleaned up. Now that's got a good root, so I'm just going to make the hole a little deeper and cover it up. Alright, that's 2. Alright, with the third, fourth, with these here, I'm going to try to shake them out of this container. You can see all the roots there, so this is going to be a little bit of a challenge. And see, this is what I'm talking about. With it being dry like that, they do want to separate a little bit, so we're a little abusive to these plants, and we apologize for that. Here, why don't we put it right there? Beautiful roots on those plants. A lot of good. Now, that's got a massive amount of roots on that.
Yeah, I think that was the long one.
All right, let me make this really deep because when these things get fully mature, they're going to completely encase the inside of this nursery pot here. All right, that looks good. Obviously, you're going to see some wilting will take effect here over the next couple of days, but that's just natural.
It's kind of transplant shock.
Yeah, and you just knock the sides to get everything. And
then we should probably give it a good water.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the different nutrients that you water your plants with. So let's get some of these other plants planted. It's just like how you normally transplant into the garden. We're going to take zucchini. We're going to take some cucumbers now, and the tomatoes. We're going to go ahead and plant those as normal. We'll talk about the tomatoes in a little bit. With the peppers, we're going to hold off because next week we're going to plant a pepper in a smart pot, as well as in our hydroponic system, our hydroponic farm.
Our water farm.
Our water farm, and show how that all comes together. So let's get the rest of these planted, and we'll go from there. Alright, so we're going to plant the tomatoes, and this is like planting the tomatoes outside. It's very similar. So what we have here is we've got red cherry variety.
And we started a couple different seeds, and we're just going to choose between the two. This one, as you can see, looks more healthy, more vibrant, so we're going to plant that one.
And the way you plant the tomato, again, we're just going to make our hole here, put our solution in the bottom here. And tomatoes are one of those vegetables, it's part of the nightshade family, and it allows you to be able to plant the seedling very, very deep. Let's see here. Am I good one? Okay. Get rid of the one that's no good. Gently get rid of it. You can see the roots there, and you can also see very tiny little hair fibers all up and down the stem. And those, when they come in contact with soil, or in this instant, coco core, those will put roots on. So this is one of the few plants that you can do this with, and we're just going to bury it all the way up to the very top of the leaves there, and it will put roots all underneath everything we buried, and then it'll be more stronger as the plant grows. So don't think you're going to smother it. This is one of the plants one of the few plants you can plant deeper than what it actually comes in the container. So we've got that one planted in our smart pot.
And then with this one,
we are going to do it in our nursery pot and see the difference between the root pruning the smart pot versus the nursery pot. Now,
and this one, if you look at the stems, you can see the difference.
This stem here, and for whatever reason, this is a black crim that I'm pointing at. This is a brandywine, and I know that because the brandywines have a unique leaf structure, which is actually a cousin to the potato, but that has nothing to do with what we're doing here. So we're going to take the black crim, which is a very large beef steak type of tomato, the pink brandywine, not concerned about that. And again, we're just going to plant it very, very deep to allow the roots to go all the way up the stem. So just go ahead and give me a little solution in that hole. I forgot to do that. Alright. And we're just going to plop it down in there. And then cover the stem up all the way. And then we're good to go. Now, we also are with next week's video, we're going to talk about planting in the water farm, as well as that's pepper there and pepper in the nursery pot, as well as planting some of our vegetables from seed, the radishes and the beets, and we'll talk more about planting onions as well. So now that we got these done, we got to fertilize these with our nutrients, correct?
We have our nutrients here, and we follow a simple formula which uses these different nutrients that we will put in our watering container in order to water them in and give them the nutrients that they need to grow.
Now on the side here, if you're wondering, well, how much do I put in? On the side it indicates the type of what type of thing, like this is the BioWeed here, this is the BioThrive plant food. Each of them requires a certain amount of milligrams or teaspoon, tablespoon, was it tablespoon?
It's teaspoons mostly, yeah.
Mostly, and based on the week of progression of growing, so you want to know what week you're on based on, so you know how much food to give them.
Right.
So go ahead.
Milliliters.
Milliliters.
And you know the thing is that when you grow indoors and you're growing in something like coco coir, you have to add those nutrients because you don't have the soil, you don't have the compost, and this is kind of a different science. So each one of these has a purpose, and we just follow. Right here, I believe we're on week 2, which is early growth, and it just talks about the different milliliters. And we figured out the conversion from milliliters to teaspoons is 5 milliliters is approximately 1 teaspoon. So that's the conversion that we go with.
So what we'll do is we'll get the right measurement, fill our watering can up with water, and then water these in. So until next time, growing indoors can be done anywhere, anytime. I'm Joy Baird.
And I'm Holly Baird.
And this has been Growing Indoors. For more organic gardening and food preserving, visit the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com.